Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. So let me start off real quick by saying that I thought I'd try doing this maybe every day or every other day, just a real quick 10-minute, maybe 15-minute at the most. So it's going to be a challenge for me. Just going through some real quick news clips that caught my eye, and I think that you guys may be interested in researching yourselves. So I'm not going to read through the entire article. I'm just going to go through a few news clips that I've seen as I was going through the news that caught my eye, and you guys can do more research on your own if you like to. But I usually just take a look at things that are pretty interesting, that I think are interesting at least, so they're probably boring. So before I start today, let me go ahead and say thank you very much to you ladies and gentlemen that have sent me a coffee. All right, in the last couple of days I've received a few coffees from people, and I'm going to stop announcing who actually has contributed. All right, but I just want you to know that I truly do appreciate it, and you know exactly who you are if you're listening to this. So thank you so much, all right, for your support. I truly do appreciate it. So ladies and gentlemen, let's carry on. So as you can see here, the president calls on the Fed to cut rates by 1% and urges more quantitative easing. All right, and it says here, and look at these guys. Why do you think these guys are smiling? Why do you think these guys are smiling right here? Exactly, because we're talking about interest rate cuts and quantitative easing means easy money, free money, all right? Liquidity coming into the market. So, and who is it going to affect? It's going to affect the stock market, and in the end, it's going to impoverish the middle class. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's my take on it. But let's read on real quick. President Trump intensifies pressure on the Federal Reserve, calling for a 1-point rate cut and more quantitative easing. The president compares the Fed unfavorably to China's central bank and says more stimulus would see the U.S. economy go up like a rocket. And it sure will. It'll go up like a rocket, all right? But what's it going to be valued at? What's it going to be actually worth, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, try not to think in nominal terms when you look at a company or an asset that is valued. What is it actually worth? How much did it cost to produce that thing in actual wealth, meaning time, capital, and labor? President Donald Trump, in his most brazen attack yet on the Federal Reserve, called for the central bank on Tuesday to cut interest rates by 1%, by 1 percentage point, and to implement more money printing, quantitative easing. In a two-part tweet, the president unfavorably compared the U.S. Fed to its China counterpart and said if monetary policy in the U.S. was looser, the economy would go up like a rocket. And here's his two tweets here. He says, China is adding great stimulus to its economy while at the same time keeping interest rates low. Our Federal Reserve has insistently lifted interest rates even though inflation is very low, and instituted a very big dose of quantitative tightening. We have the potential to go up like a rocket if we did some lowering of rates, like 1 point, and some quantitative easing. Yes, we are doing very well at 3.2%. I don't understand this, ladies and gentlemen. If we are doing so well, then why is this administration asking the Fed to drop interest rates and print more fake money? It's kind of an oxymoron. Okay, so going on to the next one. And here, this is a good segue into going to the next article where it says, yes, we are doing very well at 3.2% GDP. But with our wonderfully low inflation, we could be setting major records and at the same time make our national debt start to look small. I don't think so. So he's looking to up the GDP with fake money so that the debt to GDP ratio would be smaller. It may look smaller, but it's not smaller, okay? So here's this one. Consumer spending spikes in March, but credit card balances are at all-time highs. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, like I told you before, you have to look at both sides of the story. It says, we said, wow, consumer spending was high in March. That's great. We did really great in March, but where did that money come from? It came from debt. Right, so is that a good thing? No, not in my opinion, it's not. It says here, consumer spending rose 0.9% in March, netting an overall positive response from the mainstream media, with many reports now calling recession fears unfounded. But consumer credit card debt also rose to all-time highs again, meaning people borrowed the money they spent to fund their consumerism. March's consumer spending increase was the largest in nearly a decade, according to a report by PBS. While consumer spending accounts for 70% of economic activity, there's one more ill-fated news hidden in these new released numbers. Income grew by 0.1% in March, while inflation rose by 0.2%. So inflation rose by 100% more than what income rose. Notice inflation rose more than incomes and has risen to 1.5% over the last 12 months, far below the Federal Reserve's 2% target for inflation. All right, so I'll leave the links below so that you guys can take a look at these if you like. Let me go ahead and read this last one. The March gain was the biggest monthly increase since August of 2009, the Commerce Department reported on Monday. That's a marked improvement after 3 months of lackluster readings in this key segment of the economy. But based on the credit card numbers, much of that increase in spending was with borrowed money, fueling an already precarious debt situation in the United States. Here's another one that I thought was pretty interesting. It says here, Trump and Democrats agree to a $2 trillion for infrastructure spending. All right. President Donald Trump and leading Democrat lawmakers agreed to plan to overhaul U.S. infrastructure would need $2 trillion. Let's see. It says here, the president and Democratic lawmakers agreed that a plan to overhaul U.S. infrastructure would need $2 trillion. We agreed on a number which was very, very good. Rebuilding the country's aging infrastructure is one of the few bipartisan issues in American politics. Democrats and Republicans alike have stressed the importance of repairing and modernizing U.S. transportation, broadband, and water power projects, and both parties have submitted separate funding proposals to achieve these goals. What makes me wonder about this, ladies and gentlemen, is all of the, I think they call it pork fat or something like that. Pork fat or earmarks that are going to be attached to this $2 trillion spending. If any of you guys don't know what, and I do believe it's called pork fat or something like that, or earmarks. If any of you don't know what earmarks are, they are little side notes that say, well, of this $2 trillion, we're going to go ahead and take $186 million and subsidize this industry for it, or use it for this development and research and this and that. And they end up just pretty much dishing out a whole bunch of money to a whole bunch of districts that congressmen or senators come from in order to pacify their constituents. All right. So only because they say that they are setting aside or that they agreed on $2 trillion for infrastructure spending, which I think our infrastructure, and I think most people would agree that we need our infrastructure to be updated. All right, that our infrastructure, if you guys look at the roads and a famous thing that people always say is bridges. Bridges are collapsing, which is true. You know, our bridges in the United States are in terrible shape. So all of these things need to be fixed. But what they're going to end up doing is they're going to end up inflating the money supply once again to get that $2 trillion by doing what? Either printing or going into more debt. And both is the same. All right, so let's see. Food crisis alert. U.S. farmers' income plummets. And here it says, food crisis could be upon us as farmers in the United States report that income has plummeted. If farmers can no longer afford to grow the food we all buy in the stores, expect not only a major price hike on the food that is available, but a shortage of food as well. The personal income of farmers in the U.S. declined by an annualized $11.8 billion between January and March, the biggest first quarter drop in 3 years, Bloomberg reported, citing the Commerce Department data released this Monday. The drop in income is being driven primarily by the fallout from President Trump's trade disputes, a nosedive in commodity prices, and record flooding in the Midwest. As a result, farmer bankruptcies in the Midwest have shot up to levels that the U.S. hasn't seen for approximately a decade. And that's where we're going, ladies and gentlemen. The family farm is the thing of the past, unfortunately. We will be beholden, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know, to the big corpse, to the big agri-corp. And that's a heck of a shame. So, ladies and gentlemen, do as I'm going to try to do this year. Grow your own food. I know that many of you guys that listen to this channel already do that, and that is great. One thing you can do is teach your neighbor how to grow their own food. If they'll listen, I'm definitely going to try my hand at it this year. Last one, ladies and gentlemen, Trump administration throws support behind apparent, we'll say that, apparent takeover in the southern American country that you guys see here. It's a shame that we have to do that, isn't it? It's a shame that we have to do that. I've seen so many channels get taken down yesterday, or videos get taken down just because they had this word in it. It's a heck of a shame. Let's see. The Trump administration has thrown a support behind an apparent takeover in the country in South America, where supporters of National Assembly leaders Juan have taken to the streets in an attempt to overthrow the current president and his government. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo expressed support for Juan's efforts on Tuesday morning. The U.S. previously had recognized Juan as the country's president in January, even though he wasn't elected by the people there. All right, so you guys can go take a look at this article. I think it's pretty interesting, especially since one of the things that the current administration ran on was that they were not going to be in the business of country building. But you guys can make up your own minds on what you think is right or wrong about this, and I'll leave the links below. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and try to keep these short, just give you guys a quick look at some of the things that are going on within the last day or two. All right, so if you guys want to go take a look at it, you can take a look at it yourselves. I will be leaving the link below. They'll be all the way in the bottom of my description if you guys want to follow the links. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, in case any of you don't know, I do have a Facebook page now. You are more than welcome to come on in and follow along and start posting the pictures of your gardens, the pictures of your preps, things like that will encourage each other and start helping each other out on that platform as well. I think it's going to be a great tool for us to be able to communicate those things that we cannot communicate through the comments section on this platform. All right. So again, thank you everyone very much for all of your support. I will be putting out another video today. I've been asked several times if I can do a video on making some of my Dominican rice on my new cast iron enameled Dutch oven, and I did that last night and it came out really good. So stay tuned for that. That'll be out later on today. All right, having said that, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you very much for your support. We will talk to you guys later on. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.